Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
Here at the News at Noon show, we assemble the best and most interesting news we can find from the area, and Jerry Tope brings you the local weather and related news. Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We're glad you tuned in to watch DCTV. Today's show is live on Monday at noon and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. and again re-aired on Thursday at noon, 2:30, and 8. Today is Monday, February 13th, 2017. And now, here's the news at noon. From the Cortez Journal, U.S. Representative Scott Tipton, Republican from Cortez, told Southwest Colorado Livestock Association members at their annual meeting Saturday that as he starts a new year and legislative session, he's addressing issues such as regulation, trade, and energy. Federal overreach was a common theme as Tipton and Ann McCoy, a representative for U.S. Senator Cory Gardner, addressed an audience of about 70 at the Cortez Elks Lodge. Tipton touted his legislation intended to get Congress back into the rulemaking process instead of relying on executive actions. Unnecessary regulations hurt businesses, wages, and jobs, he said, and singled out a bill from California that would tax methane gas emissions from cattle. Fair trade is important for farm and ranch exports, Tipton said. Though President Donald Trump pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership last month, Tipton said parts of the partnership would have helped agriculture producers export their cattle and grain products. The congressman said he's optimistic that there will be new trade agreements. Tipton also favors legislation that supports wind, solar, geothermal, hydroelectric, oil, gas, and mineral energy, a position that he has called all of the above. McCoy said Gardner shares many of Tipton's positions, especially on eliminating regulations and protecting water rights. Trump has pegged former Georgia Governor Sonny Perdue as his nominee for U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary. McCoy said Gardner has met with Perdue and feels he will be a good secretary, although he would prefer a Westerner. McCoy said Gardner is concerned about the unpredictable nature of international trade, but that he would do everything he could to increase Colorado agriculture producers' ability to have fair access to exports. At that same meeting, the Livestock Association awarded Dolores County's Al Heaton as Stockman of the Year. Again, our congratulations go out to Mr. Heaton.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, a Durango man has been arrested on suspicion of sexual assault on a child. Frederick Blevins, 69, is suspected of touching a girl inappropriately while she was being babysat, according to an arrest affidavit filed in 6th Judicial District Court in Durango. The alleged assault occurred Sunday in the Hermosa area. Blevins was arrested Thursday and was being held Friday on $75,000 bail at the La Plata County Jail. According to the affidavit, Blevins was alone with the girl on the couch when he made inappropriate contact with her. The woman who was babysitting the girl said she stepped outside briefly for a cigarette, and when she looked through a sliding glass door, she saw Blevins touching the girl around her waist area, according to the affidavit. When she came back inside, the girl immediately told her Blevins touched her private parts. Blevins apparently had been drinking alcohol during the incident, according to the affidavit. Blevins at first denied doing anything inappropriate, but in a follow-up conversation that was recorded by the La Plata County Sheriff's Office, he gave mixed answers in response to what happened. At times, he didn't remember anything that happened. At other times, he apologized for whatever happened, and at other times he said nothing inappropriate happened. The girl repeated her statements to a nurse during a forensic interview.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, the Cortez Planning and Zoning Commission approved a site plan last week that would allow a new powder coating business to move to the industrial park. Cortez residents Dave and Lana Waters applied to the city for a permit to build a 4,000 square foot facility in the vacant eastern lot of the Sagebrush Circle cul-de-sac. Powder coating is a type of metal finish that Dave Waters said is becoming more popular in the Southwest. The couple currently operates their business with an employee out of a residential garage. He said powder coating is a popular option for finishing metal because it doesn't produce as much hazardous waste as liquid paint. The Waters business has been around for about a year, but before it started, the nearest place to get the treatment was in Durango or Farmington. Waters said they expect to hire up to 6 employees once the new facility gets established. All the commissioners were in favor of the site plan, but Parks and Recreation Director Dean Palmquist wrote to the board to ask if the business owners could include some shade trees in their plan to provide a buffer between the building and nearby Gear Natural area. Waters said he didn't think that would be possible as it's more expensive, though he is willing to work with the Parks and Rec Department, although establishment of expensive shade trees he felt wasn't necessary. Part of the new building site is also inside a floodplain, according to the Federal Emergency Management Agency's latest flood maps. But according to comments in the application by Planning and Building Director Sam Proffer, Waters has most likely raised the elevation of the area enough to get it out of any real danger. The board agreed that the business owners must resolve the issue before building, but they decided it wasn't a big enough problem to stop them from approving the site plan. Board member Tim Klein and fellow board member Tom Butler said having a powder coating shop in Cortez would help the local economy. Waters said the building has arrived and he has plans to finish putting it up within a few weeks. But since parts of the project still need approval from the city, it will likely be some time before it can be open for business.
According to the Cortez Journal, a 25-year-old La Plata County man died Sunday in a snowmobile accident northeast of Bayfield. La Plata County Sheriff's Office spokesman Dan Bender identified the man as Trenton Madu Garcia. According to Bender, Madu Garcia was on a snowmobile trip with a group near Beaver Meadows Road, north of U.S. Highway 160 near the La Plata County Archuleta County line. About 2 miles up the road, his snowmobile ran into a locked Forest Service gate. Bender said there was no cell phone service in the area, so members of the group rode back to an area where they could call emergency responders, which they did around 11 a.m. However, by the time emergency responders arrived, the man wasn't breathing and was in cardiac arrest. According to Upper Pine River Fire Protection District Chief Bruce Evans, the survival rate for a person with traumatic cardiac arrest is less than 1%. We tried everything we could, Evans said. Everything is worth that 1% if you can get it. The man was taken to Mercy Regional Medical Center but did not survive. According to Evans, Madu Garcia was the son of a full-time firefighter with the Los Pinos Fire Protection District.
Reported in the Cortez Journal, results are in from the first year of the Southwestern Colorado Research Center's study on cover crops, but they're less than encouraging to dryland farmers. In 2015, the Research Center, which is an extension of Colorado State University, received a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to study the effect of cover crops on soil health for dryland, no-till farmers. At a soil health workshop in Dove Creek last Thursday, researcher Abdul Barada reported that results are mixed so far. He said the Research Center hopes to spend a few more years on the study in order to come to a firm conclusion, but that depends on the uncertain fate of federal grants. Cover crops are often touted as a way to improve productivity for dryland and no-till farmers. Many scientists believe that planting certain cover crops between cash crop harvests, instead of letting the fields lie fallow, adds nutrients to the soil and helps it retain moisture. 5 farmers in southwest Colorado and southeast Utah planted cover crops in test fields in 2015 as part of a planned 3-year study to see whether that theory would work in the dry, high-altitude conditions of the Four Corners. Barada said that after the first year, which included 2 growing seasons for most farmers, some of the fields with cover crops showed slightly healthier soil, but others showed the reverse. Soil with cover crops generally had more biomass and nitrogen content than fallow soil, as expected, but in some fields it had less, and the change wasn't always very significant. It was the same with moisture levels. Barada noted that conditions varied wildly, but even among the 5 test farms in the project, and many different factors can affect soil health, such as rainfall, weeds, and whether or not the farmer has grazing animals. One thing early results do seem to show is that cover crops are more effective when they're planted in the fall, and certain species of crops are more effective than others. Each field in the study used a different mix of cover crops. Some of the species planted included spring peas, oats, barley, and safflower, plants designed to put nutrients into the soil as well as taking them out. But so far, the farmers in the study aren't convinced the method will pay off. Fortunately, for the test farmers, the USDA grant allows the Research Center to reimburse them for the cost of all cover crops. But that grant money will only last until spring of 2018, and Barada said it's not certain the project will be funded after that. That's bad news for his research. He said a 5-year study is really needed to determine good data. The Research Center is in the process of applying for another grant, but they won't know until spring whether the money will come through. For now, another growing season is in progress for the test fields, and Barada hopes to find some definite trends in cover crop effectiveness by next year.
According to the Cortez Journal, 2 former employees at the Medicine Man in Cortez received summonses Thursday in an investigation of felony embezzlement at the marijuana dispensary. Cortez police contacted Timber Higgins and Shayla Castor after Medicine Man's owners Gilbert and Sherry Garcia reported that they believed the two had been using military discounts to steal from the store since July. Police Lieutenant Andy Brock said the suspects will be charged with stealing a total of about $12,400. Higgins and Castor refused to talk to the police until they received legal counsel, Brock said. Sherry Garcia said Castor and Higgins had both worked at Medicine Man for about a year. Castor was hired in October 2015 and Higgins in March 2016. Garcia said that in January she and other employees noticed an increase of purchases rung up as 15% military discounts. Record shows that when they looked more closely at the records, they began to suspect the two were ringing up regular purchases at discount prices and pocketing the difference. The Garcias called the police on January 27th after they questioned and fired both employees. Boyd Nagel, the police department's narcotics officer, took over the investigation and issued the summonses on February 8th. Brock said that by then it had been too long since the alleged crime was committed to arrest either suspect. Garcia said she was surprised and hurt by the suspects' alleged behavior since she has known them for several years. From now on, she plans to enforce stricter rules about how discounts are entered. Higgins and Castor are scheduled to appear in Montezuma County Court on March 15th. And now here's our weather report.
Rain and snow showers will continue over the southern portions of the western slope through at least tomorrow morning. Fluctuation between rain and snow with patchy fog will be the pattern. Moderate to heavy snow is expected for the San Juans, where a winter weather advisory will remain in effect through late this afternoon. Sometime midday Tuesday, the system will begin clearing out, and by tomorrow night, the skies will be mostly clear. The clear weather and warmer days will be Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday night or later, we may begin to see the effects of a Pacific system that will reach the coast then. Our broadcast area will get rain and or snow at what elevations and exactly when or how much is not yet apparent. Earliest chances of moisture with the next system will be Thursday night, but certainly on arrival time is not available yet. So stay tuned to DCTV as the week progresses, and we'll give our weekend outlook its best shot on Wednesday. In our national forecast image, a nor'easter southeast of Cape Cod is causing blizzard conditions across parts of Maine today, and winter storm warnings are in effect from upstate New York to northern Maine. Snowfall of 8 to 16 inches is likely, with some places getting even more. There are blizzard warnings in effect for eastern Maine. On the trailing side of that system, really windy conditions were expected today and this morning to deliver gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour all the way through the central Appalachians and mid-Atlantic region this morning. The system giving our broadcast area this moisture will provide continuing rains and snow, with some areas of freezing rain from Arizona to West Texas. Also, due to this system, an area of possible flash flooding exists in central Texas. Some heavy rains with scattered thunderstorms will develop ahead of the system as it moves across Texas and into the Gulf Coast by Wednesday morning. By tomorrow night, rain and mountain snow will return to the Pacific Northwest. And in our 5-day forecast, Joe, take a look at this. This week started with calm mist and sprinkles and light rain, but will rapidly return to as great as it was last week, beginning tomorrow afternoon, with temperatures near 50 during the day and climbing from the upper teens up each night to an above freezing 35 for Friday night. Now back to the news.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, La Plata County Commissioners are expected to vote this week on proposed revisions to marijuana licensing codes that will reduce staff time and streamline the process for cultivators in the business. The county has worked for months to come up with revisions to better align local regulations with state requirements. Suggestions include eliminating mandatory fingerprint requirements for renewal applications, allowing certain modifications to be made to a business without an approval process, flexibility to correct minor code violations without enforcement action, and transferring decision-making authority from an appointed board to county commissioners. 6 cultivation facilities and 1 infused product facility where marijuana is not grown but rather processed into other products have county licenses, and another grow operation will soon be built. Proposed changes would apply to licenses for retailers and medical marijuana businesses. When suggested revisions were rolled out last month, growers and retailers were supportive of some and said they would be encumbered by others. Since then, the county has massaged the proposal to consider some of the public feedback, mainly creating more flexibility for aspects of business operations that aren't issues of public safety. For example, licensed operators would no longer need to go through an approval process or give a 30-day notice to the county each time they paint a wall in their facility or move a piece of equipment, which are stipulations of existing policy. Not only would relaxation of what necessitates an approval process relieve cultivators, it would reduce staff time and consequently taxpayer money spent processing those requests, Graham said. Advance notice for some actions, such as changing pesticides to maintain plant health, is difficult and sometimes impossible, growers said.
In recent research, CO2 levels in lab tests of 2 types of ocean snails environment were altered from current levels, and both levels were studied for changes in the snail's behavior. Cone snails and jumping snails were observed. Cone snails like eating jumping snails. At the current levels of CO2 in their normal environment, about 60% of cone snails can catch and eat their jumping snail prey. At CO2 levels equivalent to those expected at the turn of the century upcoming, only about 10% appear to be able to catch their lunch, even though the jumping snail also shows less capacity to evade capture. And the cone snails were sometimes observed to move in circles. Have you ever found yourself doing circles? Elevated CO2 levels mean for them lower oxygen levels. Interestingly, human beings also have increased difficulties with lower levels of oxygen in our environment, and it takes only a very short time to result in brain damage. Have you heard the 4-4-40 rule? It says that roughly 4 minutes without oxygen and you're dead, 4 days without water and you're dead, and 40 days without food, you're dead. Whether it is more or less than 4 minutes, if your brain has or is ever starved for oxygen from high altitude sickness or any cause, you have potential for dementia and Alzheimer's, amongst other issues. Dementia from oxygen deprivation is not always treatable. Only minimal, very short duration deprivation may be reversible. Too much, and all that can be done is treat the symptoms. Dementia or old age. At 50 and beyond, most of us will have mild cognitive changes, like it or not. We don't really need or want, at any age, to lose the quality or quantity of air we breathe. Let's try to clean it up.
According to the Cortez Journal, designated free speech zones in Colorado public college campuses are one step closer to being a thing of the past after Senate Bill 62 was passed Friday by the state Senate. SB 62 would prohibit public higher education institutions from restricting the freedom of expression by students on college campuses by limiting such displays to areas designated as free speech zones. It would abolish such zones. The bill was heard in the Senate Education Committee last week, where concerns about allowing for speech that could lead to violence and a lack of input from universities were assuaged, and it was passed unanimously. An amendment nearly as long as the original bill was presented by sponsor Senator Tim Neville, Republican of Littleton, to clarify the bill and rework it after conversations with the University of Colorado. Changes from the amendment include removal of a provision for public forums to be open for free expression. It was replaced with a definition of student forums, which extends to any areas on campus not expressly used for academic purposes. Stripping a portion of the bill that required the establishment of monuments to the First Amendment where free speech zones had been located. Clarification that SB 62 did not prevent any institution of higher education from prohibiting, limiting, or restricting expressions that is not protected under the First Amendment. This would include hate speech that incites violence. Changing references from persons to students to ensure the bill would be interpreted as applying to college enrollees and not university employees. The goals and intent are to protect the rights of students to exercise freedom of speech on campus, while still respecting the right of universities to preserve their important education safety mission, Neville said of the amendment. Also included was a definition of the term expression, which includes peaceful assembly, protests, oratory, holding signs, and circulating petitions and other written materials.
This week in National Random Acts of Kindness is National Random Acts of Kindness Week. The Durango Herald reported that in recognition of Random Acts of Kindness Week, the Durango Business Improvement District will team up with the Bank of Colorado to hand out gift cards from local businesses to customers shopping in select areas of Durango. Between Monday and Friday, representatives from the two entities will be about town, looking for shoppers in the district to distribute two $50 gift cards a day, with additional lesser value cards also available. BID represents more than 400 commercial property owners in downtown Durango, as well as along North Main Avenue. This is the fourth year the BID and Bank of Colorado teamed up for Random Acts of Kindness Week. It's our own random act of kindness, Tim Walsworth, BID Executive Director, said in a prepared statement. Part of the BID's mission is to stimulate economic activity in the district, so we want to encourage shopping in downtown and at merchants uptown on North Main with a little extra incentive. Random Acts of Kindness Day is observed Monday, but in recent years, the day has grown in popularity and extended to the whole week. It was started by Josh DeJong of New Zealand, according to nationaldaycalendar.com, and is now recognized across the world. We want to truly thank folks who are patronizing our local merchants, said Walsworth. The gift card giveaway is one way we are able to give back. The Durango Business Improvement District formed in 1997. It's funded largely by a $2 million levy on property owners within the district. Additional marketing dollars are contributed by the City of Durango, according to the BID.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of February 6th through the 12th. Dispatch received a cold report of a possible intoxicated driver with a potentially domestic situation in Rico. All deputies were notified to be on the lookout for the vehicle and individuals. While on routine patrol, a deputy assisted a vehicle having trouble with their trailer lights. A resident turned in a cell phone that was found in a parking lot in town. If you are missing a cell phone, please contact the sheriff's office and offer a description to verify if it matches. An unattended vehicle in the senior center parking lot was reported. A deputy responded, and it was determined that the vehicle was broken down. The owner was contacted, and they are making arrangements to get it moved. That's it for today's roundup. Stay tuned for continuing updates.
For today's High Country happenings, Thursday the 16th at 6 p.m. and again Friday the 17th at 10 a.m., Jerry Barlow, Celtic fingerstyle guitar player, will be performing at the Cortez Public Library. It's free and sponsored by the Friends of the Cortez Public Library. For more details, call 970-565-8117. Friday, February 17th, the U.S. Air Force Academy Band will be performing their Western Slope Tour in a free concert at the Montezuma Cortez High School. Doors open at 6. The concert starts at 7 p.m. Free tickets are available at the Colorado Welcome Center and Special Events Coordinator, 928 East Main Street. Online, you can check out the concert band at usafacademyband.af.mil. And we haven't even finished Valentine's celebrations, and the notices are on to Mardi Gras and St. Patrick's Day. So if you're planning ahead, there will be a Mardi Gras pancake supper to benefit Grace's Soup Kitchen, February 28th from 4:40 to 7 p.m. at St. Barnabas Church. Adults are $7.50 and kids 10 and under are $4. 2 adults plus 2 kids or more is $20. There'll be a pancake flipping race starting at 6 p.m. featuring city notables. For more info, call 565-7865. All of the happenings are posted up on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays and the 5-day forecast. Have a suggestion or event to list? Email us at dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station 677-4119 and we'll be sure to get your news on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program is scheduled to air live at noon Monday through Wednesday, then rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m., and again re-aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 2:30, and 8 p.m. each day, respectively.
And also be sure to check out our Facebook page with original stories and all the event details. Please like us there and share the link.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.